everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome back to Treknado. With me today, of course, is Brandon Grimm.
Hi.
And Adam.
Hey.
And look at Sarah. Yeah,
Hi,
four
Sarah.
of us. I say he's all the way over there. They gotta talk around the board cube.
Yes.
Usually, and I say usually, we've only done one episode of the show so far, but what we will
missed it.
usually be doing on this show, of course, is spinning a wheel, which is over there, that will tell us what we're doing for the day. But a new documentary came out about Spock. It's called For the Love of Spock. It's done by Spock's son, Adam Nimoy. And we decided we wanted to talk about this, and we would do it on the show. So we're going to have a little activity at the end. So this will be in a couple of parts, and we're going to do a little Spock quiz right at the end. So pretend like we spun the wheel and that we spun quiz. That's what we're doing this week, and then next time we'll do a wheel spin. Who wants to get us started on this? We just finished it. We just watched it, and Brandon, why don't you get us rolling on this documentary? It's a documentary about Leonard Nimoy's life, but also about the character of Spock. Tries to kind of integrate those two things. So I guess my first question would be, how well does it do that?
Well, for starters, it's kind of hard to, and this documentary makes it evidently clear, it's hard to separate the two.
Absolutely.
At least for large swaths, decades of Leonard Nimoy's life. And it really kind of, it starts out talking about this man who grew up in this family who was defying his parents wanting to get into acting in the first place. And they begged him not to do it, but he was going to do it or be darned, if you will. So he went out to California in I was surprised how early he was out there, 1949.
He had a long career. He already had, they don't talk about this in the documentary, he already had his own acting studio when Star Trek begins.
Yeah, and that's, you're right, they didn't mention that. That's interesting to know, but it just surprised me kind of how long he'd been out there and what he had to do to get by.
To his parents' credit, it was during the Depression, and they were afraid he couldn't support himself acting. And that it was a
true enough.
It was a dead end. It was potentially a pointless endeavor. Yeah.
Yeah. I always wondered how much of a chore it would have been to kind of separate his personal life from his Spock life and everything else that he did, but I didn't realize how much he did.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I always thought maybe he was a character actor here and there, but he had a very wide-ranging set of characters that he did across a number of shows over the years before he hit Star Trek. So it was kind of just enlightening in that aspect, and to enlightening. The whole thing was enlightening, really.
Sarah, what do you think? What did you think of this as a piece? Because we've watched a bazillion Trek documentaries over the years. I had a hard time not comparing it to the Roddenberry one that came out recently.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really well done. I thought it covered a lot of ground that hadn't been covered in other documentaries, and it was from an interesting angle, with it being from his son's really perspective. A lot of it, what it was like growing up with him, and what his life was really like in an more intimate way, as opposed to someone from outside the family looking in. So. Yeah,
and that makes it more human. It makes it more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Most certainly, and it has that in common with the Roddenberry documentary. And interestingly, I feel like those two, I mean, this one is a lot less from his son's perspective. Like it's because it's not about a man like coming to appreciate his father in the same kind of way.
True.
It's certainly not exactly a character study
for
the son like it was with Roddenberry.
It's all geared toward Leonard Nimoy,
mm-hmm.
but it gives a lot of insightful details of what the home life was like, and how he was, just as a father and as a man, trying to make a living.
Did you think there was too much Spock to Nimoy? I mean, as you point out, it's certainly a question of identity.
Yes.
And again, it gets to those to some of those places, like his memoir, "I Am Not Spock" did. Interesting that we keep showing the book but never talk about it.
I wondered about that too, and during this viewing of it, that question you just asked,
yeah.
I asked the same thing in there. Was there too much Spock? Spock was really the overwhelming thing that he was.
Right.
So I think in that sense, no, there wasn't.
But I guess I just mean practically, like, with the amount of footage from the show they're using and that kind of thing. Like, did that ever, we're, us being Star Trek fans, having seen everything they're showing us, did that kind of encroach upon it too often?
I didn't get that feeling, but one thing that I noticed while I was watching it that I thought maybe they could have handled a little bit differently. They used a lot of his stuff that he'd done or things that he was in, and they really didn't talk about a lot of it and didn't reference it. And so there were sometimes when he'd have like a voiceover or a song or something, and it's like, and they would just let it speak for itself. And then a couple of minutes would go by and be like, oh wait, that was him. And it's a lot of stuff that I don't know a lot of the more obscure things that he did. And so it took a minute for it to really dawn on me that, oh yeah, that's in there because of him.
Yeah, one example of that is the Bilbo Baggins song, where they're basically just without having anybody talking about it. So, and you thought it would be there. I didn't, because I didn't know if you could get the rights to it. Because it's Lord of the Rings and you're saying that name. I wasn't sure if they could use it, which is why I said it wouldn't be there. But then there it was. But the way they frame it is amusing, I guess. I mean, it's basically like a YouTube video where somebody takes footage from TOS and they have everybody in the bridge going, oh, that's really weird. What is that? Mr. Spock? Hey, Spock, what is that? But then we never talk about it. And so it's basically like through doing that, you can tell that the point of that, like if the movie has a perspective on it, that's a weird thing you did. But what's the point? If the whole thing spoke for itself, if nobody was ever talking and they were just showing you a thing and then a thing, and it was edited in a certain way and in a certain order, there would be a narrative there. But I feel like those two ways of giving you the information and presenting it, those two kinds of documentary, were occasionally at odds. It wasn't awful. It didn't do it enough that it kills it.
Yeah, but there were certain things where I really wanted just a sentence or two of context or explanation.
Telling you what you were looking at.
Why did he do this?
Right.
Or what was this for? Was it his idea? Was it a gig? Was it a job? Did he like doing it? I don't know.
I demand an explanation.
Other than, okay, now I have to go and research this myself, I guess. Because now I know this exists, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it starts being about representation.
Yeah.
Where we're just trying, and 2 hours is tough. I mean, I've made a 2-hour documentary, and I thought it was too long, and I tried to get a whole bunch of stuff about a bunch of different things in there. Leonard Nimoy lived a long time. He lived a full life. He did a bazillion different things. And so how do you represent all that? So, because, I mean, like, you would have been disappointed if they hadn't said anything about the Bilbo Baggins song, but then they didn't. They just played it. So, it was just kind of representation.
Yeah.
Adam, how much here were you unaware of? Like, did you learn anything?
Well, I mean, I learned a lot about like his relationship with his family and stuff that I didn't really know that much about before.
That probably wasn't public before.
Right, exactly. And, his personal battles with alcoholism, I didn't really know that much about either.
He was real private about some of that.
And, like the fact that he was maybe poised to be a big director in Hollywood at one point, but it didn't really work out like he thought.
That was the big thing. I didn't know about that movie that they mentioned that he did after 3 Men and a Baby.
Right, I had never
heard of it. They got buried or something.
And that had, who was in that?
It was Diane Keaton and
Liam Neeson was in it?
Yeah, and Jason Robards. That's what was in the clip they showed.
And I couldn't tell exactly what kind of a movie it was. It looked like maybe a romance, maybe
it looked like a Kramer versus Kramer type movie.
Yeah.
Only maybe a little even darker than that.
Was it like a political thing, or was it like a we should look at it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or was it a courtroom drama?
I think it was like a courtroom thing or something. I think. I don't know. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah. But did you find yourself early on going, yeah, I've heard this before?
On some of the Star Trek stuff, yes. But some of the other things I didn't know about. I mean, I knew he grew up in Boston, but I didn't know, about his early career and him coming to Hollywood, and then all the odd jobs and things he did and stuff, to try to make ends meet.
Yeah, a lot of that I did know. And it was
Yeah.
about halfway through before it started really delving into new things I hadn't heard before. I had to get to the later life stuff because I've read I Am Not Spock.
Okay.
And I've read I Am Spock, but it's been
Yeah.
a long time. And a whole bunch, like The Fiddler on the Roof, he talks
Yeah, I know
about a
about
whole
that.
lot
Yeah.
in that book, in I Am Not Spock. And a lot of the early jobs he did, and and all of his work before Star Trek, and just a lot of that stuff I was familiar with, and I've read that recently.
Can I say, I will find it a little bit ironic that the stuff that would have happened during your own lifetime from him is the stuff you knew the least about. And you knew more about the stuff that happened before
Just because
your
I read
lifetime.
that book,
Right, of
Yeah.
course, but I still find that kind of, it's kind of the same with
but
me.
A lot of
I
that's
know
because
more
a lot of
about
that
his,
wasn't public knowledge.
exactly.
The later in life, so, but I see
True
what you're
enough,
saying.
but
Sure.
it's kind of interesting because I have similar.
And I'm not criticizing it
Similar
for that.
things.
I was just curious how much
Yeah.
of that stuff you were aware
Yeah.
of. Everyone should read I Am Not Spock. It's the best. I mean, I haven't read a lot of memoirs, but it's the best I've read. Although I'm in the middle of Roger Ebert's right now, and it's fighting. It's fighting it. It's really good too. But I think, but I bring that up to say I think this is certainly a good and educational film for people in the know and not in the know alike. It's surprising by the end just how vulnerable a lot of people get, not just in making Nimoy, and in a way I think he would have wanted to have been, and been remembered, a person, a human being. Especially important when you're dealing with a guy who is known for, and was like this himself to some degree, known for playing a character who was stolid and closed off and didn't let anybody in. We're clearly thinking about that, making sure that people that he becomes a real person at the end of this. But people in his life, and his children and his and relatives and things like I was a little bit surprised by, and again it's because of who directed it. It's because
True.
it was Adam Nimoy. When he's sitting down with family members, they're thinking about Adam Nimoy. They're not thinking about this movie that's being made, and that
True enough.
allows those things to come out and to get to the public, which I really appreciate.
Family talking to family. Now, I want to ask you a question, Cap.
Yeah.
Did you feel that you touched on this just ever so briefly a few minutes ago? But did you feel that Adam's making this movie or this documentary, the Spockumentary,
Adam
if you
had
will?
nothing to do with this documentary.
I've been calling it a Spockumentary. I know you don't like that term, but I think
He
it's
thinks
hilarious.
he's hilarious.
Yes, I do. Anyway,
I like the title.
do you feel that parts of this, because I felt that parts of this were as much about Adam in some ways as they were about Spock, and kind of how he felt growing up, just the little bits we got from him, not that it was about him, but that it came out in this documentary.
Yeah, and we talked about that.
Yeah, I felt that he kind of made a good balance there in this with that specific
I
topic.
was wondering how much of that we would do. I like that it's. I think I like that it's that more of it is at the end, and that we kind of bookend with it. Because again, it was really hard not to compare it to Rod Roddenberry's documentary. And what I loved about that was that it was a character piece about him and what he learned about his father and coming to appreciate Star Trek. And this is just a different thing. And what makes it, because at first I was having a hard time, like I said, not comparing them and thinking, well, I almost would have wanted more of that. But then this originally started as a project that he was doing with Leonard Nimoy, and it had to become a different thing because he passed away. And originally it was just going to be about Spock. So it's going to be, and I don't know if you know this, but Leonard Nimoy has hosted and or voiced over quite a few documentaries about Star Trek.
That makes sense.
He's done a lot of TV stuff, and
I'm sure I've seen
he always
some
had a
of
really
them
good
too.
voice for that. And so I'm sure this would have been more like that. Where he just did a lot of voiceover, and then Spock was like this, and I played him like this, and it would have been entirely about Spock. So suddenly they have a lot more material they have to deal with because he's there. So I feel like what Adam Nimoy did with this is he tried to make it feel as much like the two of them were making a movie about Leonard Nimoy and Spock as humanly possible, and
Like
you
that they're
just
making it together.
together, yeah,
Yeah, they're together.
and that you just wish that you had and through no fault of anybody, you couldn't, he passed away, but you wish you could have had more discussion from Leonard Nimoy just before he passed, and there's some. You can tell the really recent footage.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There were certainly snippets from interviews I've seen before, which is not a big deal. I mean, because other people have. But that those bits, I don't know if you've seen it. Those bits with Shatner and Nimoy sitting across the table from each other. That's a released interview that's on DVD or
I have a copy
or
of
something. Yeah, and I can't remember if you brought that over or somebody else
I did.
brought that over. But we've watched that in its entirety in club, and I was a little surprised that that was. That some of that was there, but I appreciated it. I'm glad that Shatner came in for this, because I thought that might be the only thing we saw of him. And or did he?
No, he came in.
I think
he did.
He wasn't. He didn't talk as much as I would have expected, but yeah, he was there.
Yeah, they interviewed
him. What did you guys think about how often we saw a new Trek cast?
I thought it did a pretty good job putting them in and as much as they put in original Trek cast. I thought the balance between the original other actors, such as Nichelle Nichols and
Koenig,
Walter
Takei.
and Takei, I thought that they were in there about the right. I might have liked to see them just a little bit more, but in comparison to the new cast, I thought there was a good balance there with what they did with the original cast.
Yeah, for me it was a little bit jarring at first, because I was just...
That's part of why I asked. I thought maybe...
What are these people doing here? You know, it made sense, and I liked a lot of the things that they had to say.
But you weren't expecting
But I wasn't expecting them to be there.
Right.
And so, it definitely took me out a little bit
at first.
I
don't know. I thought it was a little weird because, they got to know him, but they didn't work with him for 3 seasons of a TV show
and know him for 50
6
years.
movies and known him for 50. They worked with him for a few weeks on the 2 movie shoots or whatever, or however long. The second movie was only on the view screen.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
Yeah, it was a lot more. There was a lot more of them than I would have expected.
Right.
I didn't mind that they were there, certainly, but it was a little odd that we didn't, because I assumed that the interviews with the remaining original Trek cast that's still around, those were longer, and there was probably some good stuff in there that didn't make it in the movie. It was hard not to think that. Nobody this is gonna sound awful, but nobody seemed like we're just so old we're not even giving a coherent interview.
Right.
So there was certainly stuff on the cutting room floor that would have been worth putting in the movie, and I felt like they were maybe a little shafted. A little bit, but I felt less that way by the end, because my big hang up for a long time through the movie was, where the heck is Quinto? Like of anybody from that movie, if you had nobody else, if you don't have Pine and you don't have Abrams and you don't have Carl Urban, I like that Urban was there. At the very least, have the new triad.
Right.
But and what I would have done, and this is just me, I would have put the 3 of them in a room.
Yeah.
And I would have interviewed them together. I would have had Pine and Quinto and Urban. I would have interviewed them together.
That would have been a cool choice.
But whatever. It was nice to see them. Pine is barely on screen. He pops up and says like 2 things. But suddenly Quinto shows up at the end and is there for a while, and I like that he starts interviewing Adam Nimoy, and some of the most personal and poignant things that come out from Adam Nimoy came from Quinto, because he does that. I've seen him in other interviews and stuff, and he's real contemplative, and he's real interested in people, and he's not a celebrity. He's a real kind of. He's a little closed off himself and likes to keep things close to the vest, and so he likes to know things about other people, and I really like that. But I would have put something from Quinto at the beginning just to let us know that he's there, because not only did he play Spock, is he the only other person that's played Spock, at least mainstream and real and Paramount. Heck, you could have even had Habercorn there, if you thought Continues was as good as I do. You know what I mean? But with But they also were actually really friends. And it wasn't just on the set. I've seen them conduct events together and stuff. Leonard Nimoy and Zachary Quinto. So I'm glad he was finally there, because I would have really questioned that and why he couldn't be there. But anyway, other things you guys want to bring up?
I pretty much covered anything that I really thought was of any consequence. There's nothing that's jumping to mind.
It's real comprehensive, and it's certainly personal and meaningful, and it's one of the better Trek documentaries, most certainly. And I'm glad we got it shortly thereafter like that, and I'm glad it was done by who it was done by. So those are my final thoughts. Anybody else have final thoughts?
Well, I guess one thing that I appreciated, and I knew kind of the story behind him, was the couple of things that were kind of Nimoy's inventions for Spock, such as the Vulcan neck pinch and the Live Long and Prosper. I thought they kind of gave all the backstory right there, rather than little bits and pieces of the backstory, which I'm usually getting over different interviews and piecing it together. They just said the whole thing. He explained exactly where that came from when he was little and how he knew about it and everything. So that was pretty cool.
Some of that has of course popped up in other things, but we were more detailed about it here, especially as far as the sign and that it came from a Jewish service and all of that. And again, that's in I Am Not Spock. Something else I meant to mention earlier, the voiceover that you hear throughout, where Nimoy is talking about things in his history. I imagine that's all from the audiobook of I Am Spock.
That's what it seemed like, because he was like listening to that, the headphones, and looking at I Am Not Spock.
Maybe that's how he was.
Or maybe it was I Am Spock.
No, it is I Am Spock. It's not I Am Not Spock.
I Am Spock.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
It's definitely the newer one.
Yeah.
That came out in the mid-90s.
Yes.
Okay, I did not pick up on that's how they were conveying that, because he was reading that book.
Yeah, I noticed him reading, but I didn't notice the headphones. And so it's
didn't
like,
either.
why does he keep laying down on the couch reading this book?
Yeah.
So
That's what it is, and that was probably a way to fill in some of those gaps without Adam Nimoy explaining it.
Right.
And it comes better from the horse's mouth, so why not use that?
Right.
I thought that was effective enough.
Yeah.
So now we're going to pretend like we spun quiz on the wheel, and here comes our quiz. Guys, it's a fascinating Spock quiz.
All right.
We're going to do our fascinating Spock quiz. 20 questions, and let's see if you three together can put your heads together and get the answers to these questions. So you guys can play as a unit, and you folks can play at home. Here we go. Your first question is... Spock was betrothed to a woman named T'Pring, but she wanted to be with what other Vulcan man?
Stan.
Stan, yeah, good job, Sam.
Good.
That's who.
I'll come up with that.
For the next one. Okay, Sarek makes his final appearance in what episode, which also features Spock, but they don't appear on screen together. Unification, that's right.
Part 1.
There it goes. Okay, in the Enterprise incident, Spock invents what fictitious Vulcan hand-to-hand combat maneuver?
No idea.
It's popular. It's famous. Everybody knows it.
Is that the neck pinch?
Nope.
Nerve pinch?
No.
Nope.
The
It's the death grip.
The death grip.
There you go. The Vulcan death grip.
There you go.
Yeah.
Spock's mirror universe counterpart was ordered to kill Captain Kirk when he refused to wipe out what alien race for insubordination against the Terran Empire?
Halkins.
The Halkins. Yeah. In 1975, Leonard Nimoy released an introspective memoir entitled I Am Not Spock. What is the name of the 1995 follow-up?
I Am Spock.
I Am Spock, and we just
talked
about that. Yeah. I didn't know what was going to be in this documentary. In what episode does Spock first demonstrate the mind meld?
Oh, gosh.
That's a great
That
question.
is in Mirror Mirror?
Was not Mirror Mirror.
Okay.
Was
I
it
knew it happened.
Devil in the Dark?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
I feel like they talked about it in the documentary, as a matter of fact, because they mentioned when he...
They didn't talk about the episode, though. They just talked
Okay.
about when it happened. They just talked about the behind the scenes of it.
Well, you've stumped me.
Was it Dagger of the Mind?
It was Dagger of the Mind.
Oh, well, last minute for the win.
Good job, man. All right, in Operation Annihilate, Spock is attacked by a neural parasite that destroyed an Earth colony on what planet?
Deneva.
Yeah, good job, man. Wow. And I put that in there because that's one I never remembered. And I have not seen that episode nearly enough.
I really like the way
a good
that
one.
episode looks. Like wherever they found it, the location shooting, it was like some office park somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I always thought it looked really cool. Like
Was that the first
it looked
time?
like a '60s idea of a space colony or something.
Nice.
Was that the first time we went location and weren't in a backlot or on a soundstage?
No, I think they had done it didn't Arena air before? That was the last episode of the season. And Arena
Okay.
was, at least that one was at the best because.
And I am not good with the episode order.
Yeah, so I think that was the last
With
one they
TOS.
produced.
So, 3 of your heads together, we've gotten everything so far. Number 8, what is Spock's blood type, as revealed in Journey to Babel?
Green.
I don't know, like it's like copper, but
Yeah, that's right.
copper.
But there is a particular blood type.
like an O.
Because just like
with
humans, there's multiple types of blood. Yeah, multiple blood types. And he's the only person, of course, that can save Sarek.
Vulcan O negative. No.
Copper.
It is, in fact, T negative.
Oh.
T negative. Number 9.
Interesting.
The Einworks refer to Spock's brain by what title after they steal it?
Controller.
That's right.
I've never seen that episode.
Oh, we're gonna make you see
Oh.
that. It's great.
I know.
It's great. So
We
brain-
always talk
What is
about
brain?
it.
What is brain? Yeah, Mugatu. You got to. Mugatu. What Enterprise D crew member attended Spock's wedding?
Spock's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got me. I don't know Spock that well.
Oh, was it?
Come on, Adam, you're pulling the weight here.
I don't remember that. Was this a throwaway line?
It is-
Sarek.
Yeah, it is a line in Sarek.
Okay.
And it is.
I didn't remember Spock got married.
Yeah.
I forgot.
So it's Picard.
Okay, so
And
Picard,
this is
okay.
how we know he had met Sarek
before. Okay.
He mentions that he met him at Spock's wedding, and everybody cocks an eyebrow just like Spock, going, Spock got married, what? And we never talk about it again. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
At the time of Spock's second death, when he actually dies and stays dead, he is an ambassador, but what is his official Starfleet rank?
Oh God. Is it still captain?
It's still captain.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Name an episode in which Spock physically attacks Kirk.
This Side of Paradise.
Sure.
What about, can you say
Any
Mirror Mirror?
episode, yeah.
Yeah, there are several. Yep.
Yeah.
In This Side of Paradise, Spock falls in love with Kalomi. What is her occupation?
Is she a biologist or botanist?
She's a botanist.
A botanist.
Yep, that's right. To what query during his re-education does Spock respond with, I do not understand the question?
How do you feel?
How do you feel? That's it. Short report.
Yep.
What is the name of the madness Vulcans succumb to when they experience Pon farm?
The Black Tau.
That's right. Good job.
I would not have known that.
In what episode does Nurse Chapel admit that she is in love with Spock?
Is it Naked Time? When they're all under the influence of the...
Let me make sure I think that's right. Yes, that's right.
Well, so far, you are the resident expert on Spock here.
Well, he's also, between us, the resident expert on TOS. He knows TOS
That's
better than
true.
the rest of us. And Brandon hasn't watched enough TOS.
I have...
And Sarah and I are just
And on It's
rusty.
Space
It's just been a long
You know,
time.
admittedly, I have seen more than I remember just because I used to watch it on TV Land, but I
Yeah.
don't remember it. I just remember watching it.
Right.
Well, yeah, as evidenced by the fact that you watched it on TV Land.
Right.
Like, I watched a lot of 60s Batman on TV Land too, but that's been 20 years. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to do now with back to DVD, but before I got those.
Exactly.
What are Spock's last words when he dies the first time?
Oh, the first time.
Your friend?
Live long and prosper.
Yeah, he
Oh.
says that after
Yeah.
the Your Friend
He
speech.
does, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. In what episode does Spock command an away team that fights primitive cavemen?
Galileo 7.
Yep, that's right. Let Sarah answer one.
You can jump in.
In what episode does
I
Spock
think I'm waiting
state that
for
the
it.
odds of both he and Kirk being killed
I
are
know.
2,228.7 to 1?
I don't remember this.
I wonder how they arrived at that number.
It sounded good.
It sounds good. Oh wow, I thought you would know that.
No, I don't remember this one. Which one?
That is Devil in the Dark.
Devil in the Dark. Okay.
For whatever reason, that's a line people tend to remember. Not that they can quote it, but
Yeah.
it comes up a lot. And for whatever reason, that one shows up in a lot of documentaries.
Yeah.
And the last question: name 2 episodes or films in which Spock covers his ears to hide his alien heritage.
Well, Star
Star
Trek
Trek
4.
Guardian. Oh, not Guardian.
City
City on
on
the
the
Edge
Edge
of
of
Forever.
Yeah.
What about a piece of the
does
action? He
it-
wears a fedora.
Yeah, he does it in the Nazi episode.
In the Nazi episode.
Patterns of
Patterns of Force.
Patterns
Thank
of
you.
Force.
Patterns of
Yes.
Force. Yeah.
So you guys, I don't know what we missed 3 or 4.
There's a couple.
Yeah, I think 3.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there's our quiz. Hope you enjoyed it. We will see you again next time on Treknado, and it was fun to have the whole cast for our second episode. We will spin the wheel next time, and not pretend like we spun the wheel.
Yes.
And in the meantime, once again, I was Captain Logan, and there's Brandon Grimm.
Hi.
And no, bye. We're leaving.
Oh, of course.
Hi there.
Say goodbye,
And,
Brandon.
See you next time.
and Adam. And Sarah. Now say hi. Say hi. We got it.
Hi.
Bye.
And once again, I was Captain Logan. See you later. Thanks for watching.